anytime that you want something quickly and you try to go for that thing quickly, you're going to make a mistake. And it's just pretty much a universal law that I have. It's not necessarily something that I've seen, in the literature other than, taking deliberate learning and sort of slowing learning down and making decision making slower and more carefully does actually work out. It's hard to do, cognitively demanding, requires a lot of resources, but from what I can tell, it actually does benefit. However, anytime that I've made fast, quick decisions and sort of going for something, it's different than making quick decisions. It's going for something because you're greedy basically in the moment. It's like a greedy algorithm. Um, I think they call it like an greedy algorithm. You really want to get to this thing particularly quickly, and you're sort of exploiting the thing that has the highest possible outcome right now without thinking about the long-term benefit. Every time I do that, I make mistakes and I do silly things. To give you an example, so we're getting a pool, right? Our family is going to get a pool. We live in Florida and we've been saving up for that. And one way that we've been saving up for that is by investing in S&P 500 index funds. And we were doing that for several years to do that. But when things were really going up last year, we decided to invest more in it, so that we could, get more return. And we were being greedy ultimately because I knew what the best answer was in this circumstance was to just not do that and put our money in, just a savings account. Um, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, though. I want you to think about this. So invest in a savings account and just hold that there until we buy the pool. Now, we ended up, because we were doing that, we ended up losing some money on these investments. Obviously, if you've been paying attention, it is July 4th. Happy 4th, by the way, July 4th of 2022. The market is currently down a lot after severe inflation that we haven't experienced in a long time because of some, um, you know, the monetary policy of the Federal Reserve was too aggressive. I think actually, I mean, you never know these things, but I think what ended up happening is that the Federal Reserve thought the pandemic was going to have a much larger economic impact, but they also, not only that, they thought that the rest of the world would not respond in the same way that they're responding. The rest of the world actually responded quite impressively to the pandemic, which I don't think has ever been done before in terms of the immediate and impressive response that the world did. And the world stuck with it. The US did a terrible job of managing the pandemic, just absolutely terrible job, abysmal. Um, but the rest of the world actually did a pretty good job of controlling and managing this. And what ended up happening is that because that they did all of the other federal banks across the world responded so sharply, they were dumping tons of money and it caused a lot of inflation. So this is all speculation, but I'm pretty confident with saying this, right? Like you never quite know what is going on with this kind of stuff, but I'm pretty confident with this. And then the other thing is, the U.S. the fiscal policy. So this is on the side of the government. They were spending, and they've kind of done some. So they initially did really good things in terms of doing injections in terms of spending and giving money to ensure that people didn't necessarily so that if they got laid off from the pandemic, they got some cash, but they did that far too long. And then as well as they have some really poor policy with forgiving student loans, which is creating a tremendous amount of inflation. So long story short, lots of inflation that's happening. And this has been eroding on returns for a lot of people. It's also it's kind of unsettling. We're actually paying the cost of the pandemic right now. And pandemics are expensive. And because of that, the economic cost of this is eroding a lot of returns, and the stock market's doing terrible. That it's down something over 20% this year, since the beginning of the year, but it was also at a very crazy inflated high, from all of this dumping of the money into the economy. So, long story short, what this means is that we were greedy, right? We were looking at, my family was looking at this just like everybody else was thinking, oh, this is easy money, right? You put money into the stock market, S&P 500, and then you're going to get money, ultimately in the long run. And in the long run, this is true, right? You do, and no matter all of this crazy nonsense of things going up and down in the immediate term, in the long term, you generally do get returns. But the thing is, we had to make a purchase in the short term. Purchase in the short term being, a year away. We didn't quite know. So here's the two things I want to talk about with this, right? So first things is we didn't quite know when we were going to buy the pool, and we put a contract on, kind of not knowing when it was going to happen, and we didn't know when we were actually going to put that contract on. So it turned out it was a little quicker than I thought it was going to be. And then the other thing is, if we would have put that into savings, our money would have been eroded from inflation, right? So if we would have put, say, $10,000 in there, inflation is about almost 10%. So we would have had $9,000, a year later, in real terms. So like that was eroding very quickly, and the stock market actually didn't fall as much once you start accounting for the inflation that's happening. So, what I want to come back to is a story of being greedy and thinking about, trying to get quick money and all of that kind of stuff. So the goal is to be, conservative, but at the same time think about the long run, right? So it's not necessarily conservative in the sense of like holding your money in one particular thing, but that is like a sure bet, but also thinking about the long run. So the way that I'm thinking about this, yes, that was probably a short-term mistake, but we're going to continue to invest in S&P 500 index funds because of the fact that I'm betting in the economy. I'm betting on the best companies in the world to do their job and to do a good job of it. And I don't think that is going to change. I think that I'm betting on people doing smart things going in the future. And I don't think that's going to change no matter what is going on in the environment, whether, climate change or, pandemics, whatever sort of negative thing that's happening. There's always smart people doing really good things that they should be doing. If you were to pay attention to the political environment at all, alone, you would say that that's ridiculous, right? The political environment sort of suggests that things are a little crazy and kooky, and things are kind of going in the wrong direction. However, you have to look at the corporate environment of people making really good decisions within companies, and not just companies, but uh, like foundations and all of the charitable work and all that kind of stuff. There's lots of people doing really smart things and doing really good things for the long run, and that's what you have to bet on. So my point is, try not to get suckered into doing short run things that are just being greedy in the short run. Think about the long term. So I am still going to come back to this and still going to keep investing in S&P 500 index funds, even though that we lost in the short term. And we were sort of thinking about, oh, this is an easy way to get money. But the easy way to get money is to do it repeatedly for 30, 40, 50 years. And then that's how you actually build the money. It's not the short term. Anything less than 5 to 10 years, anything probably less than 10 years even, is gambling. It is not a sure bet. that you're actually going to get your money back. So just have that in mind. But if you do this repeatedly over the long haul, and some years you'll take a hit, right? There'll be hits that you'll have, and some years you'll do really well. But over the long term of 30 years, you could do okay at this. And I'm just saying, try not to get suckered into doing short term benefit things that you're going to make money real quick. Every time I do that, I make a damn mistake that I regret. And that happens over and over and over again. However, if I think about the long term and I think about things that take a long time that have value and people will recognize that, hey, that actually has value, that that is the stuff I actually want to invest in and do good things with. So with that, keep keep chugging along, keep doing good things, and don't get suckered into making any of this get rich quick stuff. That's garbage. You're gonna get hurt. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.